Well, what's happening, and welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to round one of the Rising Titans Day 2 community scrimmages. And we got an absolute heavy hitter roster coming at you guys today. We have RTP, Resilient, Scorpio, PBX Official, Some Angry GURKHAS, Never Forget Loyalty, Golden PHYRA, FMall, Untrustable 4, Ruthless Ruler, HARYANVI. We got the finest. We got Ducklings, DP Esports, Lost Cause, Team XOTIC, Kickback Gang, I guess, Soldiers from Hell, PHYRA, IXIA, and Rest in Peace Department. So I'm expecting nothing but action right off the bat. And you guys already know what we're kicking things off with. The very newest of the maps to be introduced into PUBG Mobile Esports. I am, of course, speaking about Rondo. Please do forgive those graphics taking it, or the resolution rendering in there for just a brief moment, but we are kicking things off with Rondo, the newest addition to PUBG Mobile Esports, the interactive map, and I am curious to see what's going to happen here, because already off the rip we've got PB Official in the mix with none other than the boys in RTP Resilience, and as you can see, Panther would be the closest up and already in the danger zone. Luckily, finding himself readily equipped with that UMP-45 close quarter combat annihilator as well as the M4. And good thing too, trouble is on its way, and it sounds like it's gonna be a shotgun. We're gonna get both sides of this altercation up here. As you can see, RTP chucking up his utilities as soon as they find him. And look at the pre-fire from Panther, but ultimately outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned, unfortunately for him. Well, this is going to be interesting because we have another group showing up to the party, none other than the boys in XOTIC. This is going to be interesting to see. Kind of thrown out of the frying pan into the fire, and not really a lot of time to recalibrate and recollect yourself, heal after that fight with RTP and PB, and now XOTIC here coming to try to clean up what easy scraps might be presenting themselves. Marco just trying to get himself readily equipped. That's a cool bear. And a little bit of downtime between these two teams. Marco coming in for the thirst, understandably, and XOTIC going to be spreading out here. Tell you what, we're going to keep this up on the alt cam, but I do believe that we had some other potential altercations brewing elsewhere. And yes, as you can see, we got the crew in SAG not far off at all from members of Scorpio. I'm going to make this slot list considerably smaller here, just so I can get the general idea of it. Actually, you know what? I got a better idea. Well, looks like X taking a little bit of damage, not too much, not really going to be enough to thwart him away. But the real battle over here is going to be between the crew in GG and their opponents in as you can see, Vortex taking Hood right on out of the equation. Beautiful knock. And whether or not he's going to use this opportunity to push, I would be a bit more surprised if he did this early on. But, you know, crazier things have happened. And after we had such a slow start to day one, a lot of ground needs to be made up for a lot of these teams. And unfortunately for them, not a whole lot of time to be doing it. So it is pretty encouraging to see Vortex and the remainder of his Ducklings team showing up ready to hit the ground running. Sorry about that slot list on the screen. Gonna get that off now that I have it pulled up for myself. And yeah, we are another knockdown. It's just gonna be the thirst that we knew was coming, but there's still more action on the playing field. Back where we just were previously, the PB Official crew getting yet another takedown, and NFL, the Never Forget Loyalty boys, still squaring off in the distance. I'm not really sure what is happening here, guys. That is not me controlling that. I'm pretty sure this is a... yeah, I don't know. None of my buttons are working, and it's just zooming me out, so I love that. Okay, well, you know what? Someone came prepared for this, and as you guys know to be the nature of these emulators, gonna have the occasional issue happen every now and again with them. But gonna use this opportunity probably to restart that. Oh, we're good. We are good. I just had to turn it off and back on. So, back in the mix we go. And a little bit of a waiting game here. It looks like IG off in the distance. We're going to get a brief line of sight on them. It's Vortex for his 5th elimination. I'm not going to lie. Carrying all 5 of the team's D-limbs on his own back here is pretty impressive, considering that, we are still in stage 1 with a minute left. But yet adding more onto it with a takedown on X. Okay, we're going to get the last 2 members of SAG, but the last one up, particularly, is Nija on the alt feed here, as you can see it. Hey guys, thank you so much for being here, and well, the Vortex has fallen just right before our eyes, leaving it up to Carter, LB, J-Ron, and Zach. But the action is not going to be taking too much of a rest break here, but interestingly enough to see the spread, almost no teams whatsoever occupying the southern half of this zone shift, meaning that we might be due for some more early to mid-game altercations here, earlier than expected. We see 007 with the JS9 taking traps down to dangerously low health, and then the last bullet to finish the deal. And just like that, TLC climbing up to their first 4 elims and carrying forward as a full 4-piece team. Gonna take a brief moment, check the feed. I think what we'll do is switch our attention on over to Team Extreme, as they are in really close proximity to members of PHYRA. All right. Yeah, I'm hearing the shots outwards towards player 2 here, but no real damage done, just some warning shots. And it looks like, pardon me, this is not going to be Team Extreme. This is Ruthless Rulers. Extreme was slot 11 yesterday. It's a rookie mistake on my end. Ruthless Rulers going to use this opportunity to dip out, not trying to engage in these early altercations too soon. They don't want to be thwarting their possibility of taking home that $60 first place prize. At least not in round 1. Well, speaking of PHYRA here, we've got members of Golden pretty darn close, I'd say, to Soldiers from Hell. And it looks like they know it and are going to use this opportunity to dip out of dodge. Any other potential altercations on the board that I see? I think maybe there's always the possibility towards the center of zone between members of, it looks to be the Finest, as well as their opposition in Ephraim. And Ephraim is driving in like a bat out of hell, clearly not quite aware of their opponent's position the fire put out. And just like that, they turn and tuck tail, dipping on out, trying to reacquire a more advantageous position, utilizing that high ground, and if anything, gonna bide their time here. And it does look to me like perhaps the Finest has a little bit of blood on the mind, looking like potentially preparing for a pursuit. And if so, I'd be a bit surprised at this. On the alt cam, we still have Ruthless Rulers keeping an overwatch on Golden PHYRA, but not a lot of damage put outward whatsoever. So, gonna turn my attention once again here on the main screen to Vortex. This absolute solo dominating heavy hitter here on Team Ducklings. Vortex responsible for 5 of the team's 7 eliminations. And get this, ladies and gentlemen, he got those first 5 elims with still a minute left in stage 1. So certainly not a player to be underestimating in this event. And if you are just now tuning in, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. This is round 1 of 4 of the Rising Titans community PUBG Mobile scrimmages presented to you by North American Scrims. And we got $60 riding on the line today. Day 1 was absolutely intense, and the top 5 placing teams qualified for today, as well as the top placing team taking home a nice little chunk of change, $40 in their pocket. Okay, we do see another potential cluster here. It would be between OP Esports and their opposition in the Finest. Yeah, it looks like everyone's just trying to get their prime positioning in this new zone. And speaking of the Finest, they might not be in the finest of positions because it's kind of out of the frying pan and into the fire as they work their way by the Ducklings, taking minimal warning damage, actually no damage, a couple warning shots put outwards just to hold the opposition at bay, keep them from pushing in. But I am hearing the shots coming outwards from Carter of Ducklings, and it looks like he does secure the knock on Ankit. Ankit trying to rotate in with the remainder of his team, the Finest, and finding himself with a bit of bad luck. Luckily, he does have that little bit of geographic cover in that boulder, but no time to waste because we've already got more action on the board. It looks to be the boys with Soldiers from Hell pushing right up onto the Finest, and Torres taking Bad Fellow right out of the equation, sending him back to lobby, but oof! Revenge Sir cold and fast as his teammate Molly is brought down to the prone zone, and back to lobby she goes, leaving it reliant upon Maiko and Torres alone. And as I say it, the caster curse goes into full effect, and just like that, Maiko is down, leaving Torres as the final hope remaining for his boys in Soldiers from Hell. I'm hearing those shots coming out around the area, but I think what we're going to have to do briefly is tune our attention to us. Well, I guess they actually are not going to be. I was going to tune into PB Official thinking that they were going to be driving by Ruthless Ruler, but it does not appear to be the case. But regardless, the zone has spoken. And boy, oh boy, to say that it is put majority of the player field at a bit of a pressure point, meaning that they all are going to need to rotate into this new zone, and as you can see, not a lot of building cover afforded inside of it, so it is going to be an early battle for real estate. And as I say it, Torres just suffering the consequences of that prediction and brought right on out of the equation, sent back to lobby and eliminated in 14th place, unfortunately for himself and his team. I do want to try to get something resolved here. Well, I can. Yeah, okay, so this is what I need. I wanted to get this split scene a little bit more presentable. There we go. All right, so takedown brought onto X right before our eyes. Ooh, sorry about that. And just like that, it's going to leave everything in the hands of Scooby, Koyuki, and Ninja. Luckily, as a 3-piece, they still have plenty of numbers to carry on, but to say that they're out of the thick of it would be a lie, as the PHYRA boys cleaning in for that easy thirst. Looks like Scooby's going to have to dip out of dodge, and boy, talk about a little bit of tunnel vision for the PHYRA crew. This is PHYRA IXIA, focusing a little too much in on the crew of some angry Gurkhas, and then taking their attention off the southbound threat, I guess you could say the eastbound threat of Ruthless Ruler, and boy, Ruthless Ruler makes us pay for it big time. Look at this push, 3-1 split with the offensive holder providing majority of the cover fire, and boom, Ruthless Ruler cleaning house quick and easy. And now we are down to our final 41 players dispersed across 12 teams, and the very concluding portions of Stage 4, You know what that means? It means that that zone is shifting, and let's see it. Oh boy, it is not an ideal shift for literally almost everybody in the zone, with everybody on the field, with exception to the original Golden Pyra team, is outside of zone. I guess TLC is also already in this new zone, but with no compound cover to really compete for, it's going to be a battle for prime positioning, meaning whatever geographical cover you can find. And yes, we hear slaughter of PHYRA going in after somebody from PB, and it looks like PB retaliating as well, trading knock for knock, but that is going to be it for him potentially. Pardon me. Withdraw that statement. Keep thinking about the slots from the day before. All right, so we got block of PB with this off angle, trying to get any easy third-party elim steals he can. Boy, talk about OP getting a little too hungry there. Risking it to jump through that window, and then clearly they were just waiting for the opportunity to strike. No time to waste as we get our eyes set on the final hope here for the Ducklings. It's going to be J-Ron. I apologize. J-Ron, the final hope. Now, J-Ron currently not really put up a lot of numbers for the team, but his real coin in the back pocket for him is being able to potentially work them into that placement point bracket, meaning that once he works into the top 8 placing teams, they're automatically going to get at least some placement points, and then after which point, every team that he survives longer than is going to be just easy points in the bag without having to necessarily present himself as a risk. Putting himself in danger for the elims is one way to go, but if you're a solo, survival time can be the real ticket home. Alright, so Doom down, Slayer is down, Epham having a world of hurt as well at the hands of PHYRA, and look at this. The crew in IXIA wasting no time, inching their way forward closer and closer, enshrouding their path in the cloud of smoke. And here we have it. It does come at a price. X is down, leaving Monster to try to get a first aid off, but oof, even 7 years into the esports scene, you still find people getting the timings off and finding themselves victim of that blue zone. And we have got ourselves 21 players remaining spread across 8 teams. And look, as we see it right in front of us, the Untrustable 4 squaring off up against the opposition in Epham. Epham, you can see we got somebody here cooking up a grenade. Kind of a little indecisive, bowing in between, should I throw it, should I not? Zeus of RTP taking a rough hit of bad luck, and I think it was probably from Lost Cause. Let me get our eyes set onto Lost Cause for just a brief moment. Currently set here with 6 elims, but still a full team. And I say it time and time again, but that is going to be crucial as we reach these in-game confrontations. Having the numbers in your favor can be the absolute difference maker between a 4th, 5th place finish and a winner-winner chicken dinner. But unfortunately for the TLC crew, they are up against another full 4-piece of Golden Pyra, not to mention the unforgivable 4 just behind them. This is an absolute bloodbath. Teams just trading knocks left and right, and look at this, Ninja of SAG. Some angry coming in, guns ablazing and hellfire crashing with those nades. It looks like it's going to be a takedown. Yes, it's going to be relying entirely on Koyuki and Scooby. Koyuki going to try to play medic duty, leaving Scooby in charge of Overwatch and cover fire. Luckily for him, these teams are all focusing in on one another. He might even have an opportunity for a free third-party elim steal. And look, yeah, we got the Lost Cause right up nose to nose with the crew in Some Angry GURKHAS. At this point, GURKHAS is down to Koyuki and Scooby, and now it's just Scooby alone. Can he solve the mystery on his own? Yet to be seen. He is laying low under the radar and just trying to let these numbers dwindle. Remember what I said earlier? At this point, any team that they survive longer than is easy points on the board. And he's already got 4 slots of placement points. With 2 teammates up, or I guess up but still knocked, he begs the question of, could I possibly get a revive? But that self-control is the right call, because there was no chance that Slaughter was going to let that happen. And the mollies put out were trying to hold Slaughter off at bay, and we have ourselves 8 players duking it out across 3 teams to decide who wants the winner chicken dinner for round 1. Well, no more Scooby snacks for you. It's going to be the 3v3, a fair fight to end round 1. Let's get both sides of the altercation up on the board. Tell you what, rather than having both sides, let's get an aerial free cam of it. Catch all the action. Got Doom pushing forward towards 7-Eleven, and boom goes the dynamite. Slaughter's the last hope. Pardon me, Slaughter and Room, the last 2 hopes for the team. Slaughter with no health to speak of, desperately in need of that first aid, and somehow able to get that first aid off without even a struggle. Not a single obstacle in doing that. Probably a bit of an error on TLC's end, and yes, it was a huge error on TLC's end to not get quick on that push, because, boy, once Slaughter healed himself up, it was game over, down, done, and dusted. And any way you look at it, that is going to be a wrap for round 1. And what a start for the PHYRA boys, with Slaughter, Haslich, Room, and RTK putting up a combined 15 eliminations. 15 eliminations. Just to kind of paint the scene, that's almost 20% of the playing field, you guys. Absolutely insane numbers, especially to start the day off, you know, considering you're probably not warmed up as you would like. And granted, this is just a complete 180 from the performance we saw from teams in match 1 yesterday. TLC, ain't nothing wrong with silver if you're doing it, boasting a healthy 14 elims, literally finding themselves maybe 3 points shy, 4 points shy of the performance of the round 1 winners in Golden PHYRA. We got the SAG crew, some angry GURKHAS in 3rd with 4, unforgivable 4 in 4th, ironically, with 6. We got FM getting effed into 5th place with a big old onion. RTP in 6th with 9. We got the PB officials in 7th with 3. DLS in 8th with 10. Goodness, 10 between 3 of their players, 9 between Vortex and Carter alone. And we remember Vortex got 5 of those with 1 minute left in stage 1. Absolutely bonkers start. IG in 9th with 3. The Ruthless Ruler coming into 10th place, not ruling a lot from 10th place, but getting 10th with 4 elims to add to their name. Exotic in 11th with 1 from Marco. We got OP in 12th with 0. The other Pyras in 13th with 1. We got SF in 14th with 3. FNT in 15th with 1 from Live. GBG in 16th with 3. The HR crew in 17th with 1 from DeWood. And NFL, never forget Loyalty, in 18th and last place with 1 elim thanks to Zikopa. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is just 1 round down, done, and dusted. But stick around. We are going to be coming back at you. Sorry, I know that was Rondo, but we're going to be coming back at you in just a few short moments with round 2 of 4 of the Rising Titans Community Scrims Day 2 in just a few short moments. Stick around. We'll be back soon. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to round 2 of 4 of the PUBG Mobile Rising Titans Community Scrimmages Day 2. And you already know what time it is. Time for the very first map ever introduced to PUBG Mobile. I am, of course, speaking about Erangel, the map that these players by far should be most acquainted with, and by far should have this map memorized down like the back of their hand after 7 years. So this should be kind of the match where we would expect teams to hit the ground running. But let's have a look at the flight path and what sort of obstacles our players are going to be up against. Well, it's a perfectly centralized flight path. That's great for them, but it is a little bit less ideal in terms of where the first zone is going to hit. Literally a northeast zone with about 1/3 of it being occupied by water. Just further limiting the options for the players in terms of real estate to occupy. But with that being said, we'll see if the next shift is a bit more inland. But for now, this is what we're working with. So, going to tune my attention to Yasnaya, where it looks like we got RTP potentially preparing to collide with none other than the boys in DLS. And it looks like we might have another potential altercation a little further west where TLC could be getting a little close to the Get Back gang. So let's have a look. Oh, that's Ephraim in the chat. In the kill feed, pardon me. And Scorpio as well from the Unforgivable 4. So... pardon me, that is not Ephraim. U4. There we go. Ephraim's right here. They did come with a bit of a price to pay. They've lost one of their members, and it doesn't look like they were able to retaliate or even those odds whatsoever. Also, down in the Pachinki area, we've got another potential issue brewing here between the likes of... that's going to be HARYANVI and the opposition in DP Esports. Looks like Hood and Imminent would probably be the closest to squaring off. But as I say it, I feel like I might be a little bit off the mark on that. Also, we are seeing PB official in the feed. Let's get a line of sight on them just to make sure we're not missing anything. Yep, they are squaring off as we speak with the boys in golden pyro. We got Slaughter preparing for an inevitable push with that DBS, the double barrel shotgun M4 combo. And it is going to be a numbers game against him unless his team can come help and provide some support. Slaughter going for what he can, taking Glock down, but oof, retaliation dished out quickly by Paradox, bringing Slaughter down to the prone zone and back to the lobby. And it looks like they basically saw that that was a low odds, low probability fight fairly early on, because Room and Hasich decided to dip out and try to carry on the team name, get some at least placement points or damage reduction, so to speak. We can see a couple potential points of altercation. I think we're going to switch on back to where the crew in HR, HARYANVI, is up against the OP crew. Voltron just holding position. He's the off-angle holder, as you can see. It's got a, well, maybe not even really an off-angle holder. It's just a fairly even spread. But this is my issue with this. And I see this time and time again in congested cities. So I would say this is certainly applicable to Pachinki. But, like, you know, take into account, let's say, the jungle map. We got Pine On. You know, essentially the same case can happen in these situations. Or let's say even Yasnaya, these standstills that can happen in these congested cities, even when teams are just so close. There's just so much compound cover to be taken, and there's so many vulnerability points that it can lead to these standstills where essentially teams are sandwiching themselves in bad corners and not really able to move around like they would like. All right, well, we have Tonks OP getting his first takedown and the team's first as well. But boy, the noise and commotion has been made here. A little too much ripples in the water, and then fished out onto Imminent and Evil. And as I say it, Conks just swallowing a high-calorie dinner of frag grenade and brought right down to the prone zone himself, leaving everything reliant upon Voltrux to carry on the name for OP Esports. And talk about being stuck in between a rock and a hard place. We got Voltrux literally sandwiched in between PB Official and the opposition in HARYANVI. And both are full teams, or at least close enough to it, if not full. Yeah, so he's got like 7 people here to worry about, and some, I guess you can probably guess to be the case, given the hesitance from PB, but I have a feeling that they might know about Voltrux's location. And aside from this, we do have a couple other contention points further up in the Rosshawk region, where Ruthless Ruler is duking it out with none other than the boys in PHYRA. This is the other PHYRA, so to speak, and we'll get that up on, pardon me, is that the other boys in PHYRA? Nope, it looks like they've already driven out anyway, so it doesn't even matter. We're going to go back to the task at hand, where the PB Official crew has been reduced down to half of their starting lineup, losing Paradox and Slayer, and being reduced down to Panther and Glock, but odds get even right before our eyes as Panther just pounces onto Sam, leaving himself in a 1v1 with Hood. Oh, pardon me, a 1v2 with Hood and DeWood. Well, Hood swallowing a concerning amount of frag damage there, and this could be tough. He seems pretty committed to trying to stick that revive, but boom! Hood naded right back down to 10% health, but somehow still alive, thanking his lucky stars. But a pressure factor is an understatement. This man desperate to heal, and the nades are just showering inwards, just hellfire crashing left and right. He is able to get the first aid off, and luckily Hood, Rich Hood comes in with the off angle and providing some assistance. Unfortunately, DeWood taken down the second he touches grass outdoors. It is a 1v2 Panther versus Hood, and yeah, pardon me, it's a 1v1 Panther versus Hood. Want to make sure we're not missing anything else on the field. Tell you what, we'll get the map view pulled up there, so you know what the zone shift is doing, and we know what are. Well, Hood downed, but thanking his lucky stars for that revive he was able to pull off on DeWood. That is going to be the saving grace here for Team HARYANVI as they push forward as a two-piece, but hey, a two-piece with 3 elims to their name, and now the name of the game for them is probably going to be dialing things back and trying to reach a better placement position. Well, we got the boys in, I guess, and to say sandwiched is an understatement here as well. They got to one side, the boys in RTP, and then to their east, trouble in the shape and form of the Ducklings. Not to mention putting out fire on members of, I guess it's the finest driving by. All the while, their teammate Monsta able to take in a couple shots over to the opposition across the streetway, DLS. But as we know, too many peaks, too many points of vulnerability, and revenge is a dish served quickly. That is going to put a little bit of pressure on the revive, but in the meantime, it's going to mean Chess and Nismo are in charge of this overwatch and cover fire. As you can see, there's been a knock on RTP Jonier, but I don't think that this is going to be any benefit to any of them. I don't think that this is going to result in any pushes. It would be about the most vulnerable push to try to acquire 1 elim point. So realistically, I feel like these teams are just using up each other's resources, ammo, and maybe just doing damage to their armor. It's not really going to amount to much. And if I were the IGL there, I would say, hey guys, you know, if we're not able to have a knock that could even have a possibility of becoming an elimination, what are we doing with these fights? All right. I do want to zoom in on the map here just to make sure we get a better idea. It doesn't look like there's any other immediate points of contestation just yet. But as we know to be the nature of PUBG Mobile Esports, as that zone shrinks, these participants are going to be left with less and less room to choose from, less options to spread out in. And right now, we've got Room, one of 2 remaining members for the OG Golden Pyros, and he is in trouble's way, getting dangerously close in the vehicle to members of the Lost Cause. And it looks like neither team is looking for that early altercation just yet, just trying to get a secured positioning inside this new zone. That seems to be the name of the game for them right now. And there's there's definitely, it's not even an actually kind of thing. This is plenty of room to choose from, room to spread out for all these teams, to be honest. And there are obviously going to be some prime positionings. I think you can say, yes, Naya is going to be the loot center here. And the fact that it is kind of close to the equator of this next zone, it's a good sign that it'll likely be in for the next shift. But also the elevated region of Stalbert seems pretty opportunistic and understandable why you're seeing members of FM occupying it. Getting that 360 degrees of high ground in Overwatch could be a pinnacle difference maker in a first place finish or a 5th place. So, I think we can safely say that there's going to be some trouble here for one of these Pyras. Yeah, Beaches is not looking very savable, and that's going to put Room in between a rock and a hard place, but making that S12 sing a beautiful chorus as he gave a retaliatory knock on 7-Eleven, and then a quick thirst to follow, sending him back to the prone zone, but boom! Hellfire crashing down on him. Trigonometry was calculated, and Martha Stewart herself could not have cooked a finer nade than 9 of TLC. All right, where's the next bit of action going to stem from? Thus far, I'd say that is up in the air. There's just a pretty even spread throughout this zone, and even the teams outside have more distance between them. So I think it could mean that we are due for a little bit of downtime, maybe a couple idle moments, maybe even up to a full stage of this game could be a little bit of idle time. But even as I say it, kind of casting us with a little bit of pessimism, we see RTP going in for a knock right then and there. Looks like they are putting shots outwards towards Ruthless Ruler Zill, taking him down to about half health as he tries to get to a position of cover. Not just members of RTP firing at their direction, it looks like it's also going to be members of HARYANVI. So a little too much attention can be a really bad thing. You know, they say any publicity is good publicity. Well, not always in PUBG Mobile Esports. Well, looks like Ruthless Ruler might have an issue. And I was going to say in the possibility of the Untrustable for pushing in, but as I say it, I saw Tom driving around the flank edge of that new zone, just trying to get to a more secured position inside the city. All right, so not a lot happening on the playing field, as to be expected after such an annihilating first start to the day. But those bits of idle moments are going to be just kind of par for the course with PUBG Mobile Esports. It always has been, and it looks like it always will be now that Rondo is replacing Sandhawk, and we are going to be working entirely with 8x8s in the esports scene. I think you can expect the idle moments to just not really go anywhere, so to speak. But it's okay, because what I always say is, I've reiterated it for years, but a more passive early game, bits of downtime are always going to translate to a more action-packed or climactic mid or in-game. So one way or another, we're going to get the action we're due. Speaking of action, we got some right here as TLC reduced down to a two-piece of 007 and 999, finding themselves a bit spread apart from one another, meaning no assistance likely to come from either one of them towards the other, leaving 9 and 007 as two solos in a bit of a pickle here, because they've got a full squad of Unforgivable 4 in between them, not to mention the Golden PHYRA IXIAs a little further off with the off angle. I do want to catch a line on 007's positioning here, just to know. Got some other shots being put outwards in the distance. I want to... Oh, boy. There we go. I want to go catch a quick line on what DLS is going to be doing up against the likes of NFL. Now, NFL hasn't had much screen time today, so I guess we'll give them a little bit of camera time now. But both of these teams have been playing extremely reserved this match. And, you know, as I said it at the beginning of the start, it was optimistic to see some of these teams hitting hitting the ground running, because there's not a lot of time to make up for the slack in the rope from yesterday. There's only 4 matches today to decide everything. And guess what? Half of those matches are almost done. So basically, you got 2 matches and an additional 2 in-game stages to really make your mark, take home that first place positioning, and get that $60. NFL and DLS just at each other's throats, but with a building to separate them, it could drag on. But you know what doesn't look like it's going to be dragging on? The angry GURKHAS, SAG, pushing right on in and putting a hurting on the PHYRA IXIA. And boys, Scooby and Solar, blow for blow, knock for knock, just trading knocks, and then quickly gonna come in. It's gonna be X from SAG with a little bit of hellfire crashing down to seal the deal. All right. A lot of noise and commotion made from that altercation. We are hearing a lot more shots off in the distance. It looks like I saw Jonier in the field catch a line on him. It looks like he was the one actually in the action there. So we're going to catch eyes on RTP, Jonier. Wow. Whatever altercation it was, it's done. And the NFL DLS altercation continuing on. Carter, with his moments being numbered, cooking up a preemptive nade, trying to get an early knock on an NFL opposition. He's got Lazy down, but Shiesty very much alive and kicking. Off in the distance, SAG dealing with a little bit of trouble themselves. We'll pull that up on the alt cam right here and now. As you can see, Scooby holding the off angle while X pushes in forward. Spidey a little bit closer with him. we'll actually switch it over to RTP on the alt cam. Get multiple lines on this. And from here on out, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be bloodbath warfare. Carter at it with Baby Nuck. And yep, that shotgun is so unforgivable. S18 doing what the S18 do. Back-to-back knocks in one shot. And all the while, NFL finally having at it, and RTS squaring off, RTP squaring off with the SAG crew, as well as putting some warning fire outwards towards the soldiers from hell. Hearing so much gunfire being put outwards from IGUS, but not a lot of impact from it. As you can see, yeah, they are still a full 4-person team, but a full 4-person team with 0 elims on the board. Yeah, you might be able to acquire those placement points, but if you're not comfortable taking on your in-game altercations, I'd say it's never going to be a situation where you're going to qualify in first place to take home that prize, not with just survival points alone. RTP, we got Joinier edging closer and closer, hoping to try to get to a position where he can provide the overwatch for Chico to revive his fallen teammate MG, and it looks like they're able to do so. We got TLC 007. I think, yes, he is the last hope for the lost cause. He is the last cause for the lost cause, and desperately trying to lay low and under the radar. And he might just have that opportunity, because it is bloodbath warfare brewing on the battlefield as SF pushes up, and they are in the mix with none other than IGUS. Look, quick takedown. Fabfella down by a nade. Ravion taken down right before our eyes. All the while, Unforgivable 4 having at it in the distance. Working their way up to 4 elims, evenly dispersed, but now finding themselves with a little bit of space to wiggle out and try to recalibrate themselves, get healed up, and prepare for the next altercation. That's a luxury that's not so afforded to a lot of these participants. IG, luckily enough for them, having probably about the only compound cover for a good bit of distance here. Rich Hood, oof, the odds are against him. He's trying to enshroud a path forward into this new zone, but to do so, he's got to run through the most vulnerable stretch of open land, and it is going to be odds against him. So at this point, any team who stays alive longer than he's got to survive just one more team to get to that placement point bracket, and then just any team that he can stay alive longer than is extra points on the board without having to. So it seems to me like it's a no-brainer. 007, listen, take what you want away from him. You can't take the flowers. This man has kept the TLC name alive here as a solo, working them all the way up to, oh my goodness, caster curse by none other than myself. We're almost working them up to the placement point bracket, but just shy of it. Able to get up 3 elims to put on the board at the very least, but that is a tough blow nonetheless. Ooh boy! Well, Joinier providing a little unexpected assistance to the crew and IGUS as they were dealing with SF solo straggler here, and he was putting quite a hurting on him before SAG, Spidey, and RTP focusing in. Joinier putting out some warning shots and making reorient his attention. No way! Ooh, MGG is gonna have some splaining to do. Yes, he sure was able to take out the opposition with that nade, but boy, the communication amongst the team needs to be a little bit more crisp and quick to the point, because that should never happen at this stage of an endgame where you don't have another enemy team for miles and you still end up dating a team. Usually those mistakes happen in those brisk few milliseconds of a close quarter altercation. Well, we are down to our final 4 teams, ladies and gentlemen, spread across, final 3 teams now, spread across 6 players. This is RTP's match to take home. If they don't win this, it will be from their own mistakes and undoing, because they have situated themselves in a 3v1v1. And now it's down to the final hope of SF, and it's quick work at the hands of RTP. RTP Resilience. Very nicely executed, keeping the numbers in their favor till that end game, and then really laying an onslaught, a berserker powerhouse performance on the playing field, and taking home a winner chicken dinner on the tip of their tongue finish. That's a gold medal first place, 12 elims. That's a 22-point gain for RTP Resilience in round 2 alone. SF, the boys in Soldiers from Hell, second place, but only 2 elims to their name, so that's going to be probably about a 10-point gain for them for round 2. Not bad work by any means. 10 points is nothing to wag your finger at, but remember what I said right at that last stage. If you're not comfortable taking on those in-game altercations, if you're not confident and comfortable and quick to capitalize on those situations, if you're not putting up a decent number of elims, it won't matter if you get first place in terms of placement every game. You might get those 10 points, and you're certainly not going to be finishing in last place, but up against some of these higher performing, more aggressive teams, it's probably just going to fall short of the mark. We got the I Guess crew in third. See, and here's a good case in point. I Guess in third with a healthy 8 elims. Now, yeah, they have like, what, probably 6 placement points or 7 placement points, but those elims are definitely shooting them above the crew in Soldiers from Hell. SAG, 5th place with 7. We got HR in 6th with 5. DLS coming in 7th with 5 as well. But get this, 80% of those 5 came from Carter alone. The Unforgivable 4 putting in a solid team effort. 1 elim per person, 4 total. Everybody does a fair share of damage, and they make it to the bracket of placement points. TLC kind of robbed there. A little bit of a heartbreaking story, because I think it was 007 was their solo player, and he kept him all the way up, trying desperately to get to placement, but falling 1 slot short, eliminated in 9th place with 3 elims. FNT in 10th with 3, GBG in 11th with 1. The Ruthless Rulers not going to be ruling much from 12th place and 0 elims. Never forget Loyalty. Never forget to try to get elims too. Golden PHYRA in 14th with 3. Exotic in 15th with 0. The other PHYRAs, this is probably PHYRA IXIA or the main PHYRA, one of the two. 16th with 2 from Ardom. We got the PB officials in 17th, boasting a pretty impressive 7 elims for being eliminated second to last. And then lastly, the OP squad coming in 18th with just 2 elims. Well, ladies and gents, that is half the day down, done, and dusted. But we still have 2 more matches to decide who wants to take home that $60 first place cash prize as we work our way into round 3 of 4, Miramar, in just a few short moments. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the PUBG Mobile Rising Titans Community Scrimmages Day 2, presented by North American Scrims. Be back soon. Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Disregard that round 2. Welcome back to round 3 of 4 of the PUBG Mobile Rising Titans community scrimmages, day 2 of 2. This is round 3, and you know what time it is. A little bit of destruction in the desert. Let's see what sort of flight path we are going to be working with. Right off the rip, these participants should be thanking their lucky stars because yet again they find themselves with the graces of a centralized flight path. Very lucky to have it, and especially on a map like Miramar where they can very often find themselves in just these disastrous flight paths where you have to compete for the only cluster of compounds for, you know, a couple hundred meters. And so this is going to be good for the participants, maybe less ideal for us, the viewer, because it could mean a slower start. But even as I say that, I'm seeing a couple potential contention points here. And for instance, we got just down to the south, it looks like it's going to be members of SF alongside Soldiers from Hell, alongside the boys in HARYANVI, as well as another opposition. It looks to be, oh, it's going to be NFL, so let's get eyes on it. We got Lazy here already grabbing the team's first elim in this little love triangle of warfare, so to speak, between GG, SF, Soldiers from Hell, and Never Forget Loyalty. We got SF down to their last 2 members, and we saw this guy who's on the screen right now, what he can do as a solo for his team. So it isn't the worst, you know, thing to see him already tussed into the thick of it, but I think it's going to be a situation where if they want to have any shot at placement points this early on, they're going to need to get out of here while those 2 teams focus on each other. And there's really not much debate about it. I know that Mark Cole was able to acquire an elimination just then. That's great. But 1 elimination point versus, you know, staying alive for 3 placement slots and no elims, it's still not even a close call. So at that point, you got to wonder what is the right move for him. SAG getting into the thick of it with none other than the boys in Team XOTIC. We got Noob and OP, the 2 closest threats. Pardon me, DP here. DP being pushed as we speak, readily equipped with that UMP-45, pre-firing through the window a little too preemptively, so to speak. Going for a initial pre-boost, but doing so should have been absolutely wrecked. But instead, 1v2s and almost 1v3s. SAG, can he finish the job? Capitalize on this push forward. His team is inbound, but can he get this job done before those revives are secured? He got the 1v3! What is happening right now? What is XOTIC DP able to do here? How is he able to do this? What is SAG doing? Essentially 1v3'd and then coming in, and if it's him who gets that last one, it was DP 1v4's SAG.
And boom goes the dynamite.
That was insane. Absolutely insane 1v4. That's how you end up on social media, ladies and gentlemen, when you don't want to be. All right. Looks like we got a couple points of contestation here. Right now, we got the PHYRA IXIAs up in the mix with none other than, pardon me, the finest. We got Rick, the closest up to the altercation, all the while the 3-way love triangle that has been looming down in the southwestern portion of the zone still continuing on. We got that up on the alt screen here. I guess we'll get an aerial view to give a better idea. A little bit of space between NFL and SF now. Well, Freaky is live, getting another takedown on a PHYRA. This time it's Solar biting the bullet, leaving ZYY, Shixoxo, or I guess She XOXO, and Mirai to carry on the team name. Whether or not they'll be able to secure any assistance to their fallen teammate, yet to be seen. No, it's not happening. Bad fella coming in with blood on the mind. Z might have an opportunity to catch a sliver peek on Bad fella or Ankit. Just hoping for the right opportunity. And no such opportunity looking like it's going to happen. So, with that being said, if we have a look at the map as it currently stands, it's going to be a little bit of a waiting period for us, the viewer, as well as for the participants. And that's not really a lot we can do about that. As you can see, there's just so much open space in this zone here, and there's still a minute left of stage 1 here. When we see that zone shift, we might be due for a little bit more of a predictor and what sort of timeline we're going to have to wait for more intense action inside the next zone. However, we do still have the blue zone congestion here. Pardon me. Blue zone congestion between these 3 teams. We got members HR, the HARYANVI boys. We got SF, Soldiers from Hell, as well as the Never Forget Loyalty, just in a battle of patience. But everyone has their back kind of in a corner where they can't really move without facing vulnerable damage from other places. Oh my goodness! I never thought I would see someone using the bow to knock it. I hope that was him who did all that damage, but gonna be clipped either way. I never get to see anyone use that bow well. So, Rick still swimming in the opposition's territory here. HARYANVI, even though, pardon me, PHYRA, even though they are a little bit weakened here, down to a 2-piece, they are still a formidable opposition. Definitely not wanting to be giving up any easy sacrifices to a 2-piece. Freaky getting ready for the push. Mirai prepared as best as he can be, but basically finding himself fresh out of options in terms of medicine and utilities. Gonna have to take this fight on with the blue zone damage in there. And unfortunately for him, his teammate DY taken down, and Mirai quick to follow afterwards as well. Okay, well, as you can see on the alt cam, bit of a spread. These teams are going to have to work their way into the new zone one way or the other. So, a little bit of a waiting game. We said it in round 1. We said it in round 2. And I'm going to say it here again, especially as we move forward into the future of PUBG Mobile Esports with the substitution of Sandhawk for Rondo. That's going to be putting us in a position where we are dealing only with these large 8x8 maps. So, I think the downtimes, the idle moments, a lot of these tier 2 and tier 3 open scrim community teams, this is their opportunity to learn and figure out just how to best utilize that time most efficiently to prepare for the end game. We got, I guess, closing a barrier around their opposition in Get Back game. Vortex and Nismo, every man for themselves vehicle approach, just using the geography to their advantage, getting the little bits of cover where they are afforded to them. And that does come with experience in PUBG Mobile Esports. You know, when natural cover, or pardon me, a building cover is few and far between, it really comes down to knowing the geographical advantages and disadvantages of the map you're playing. Well, HR, the boys themselves, we got HARYANVI putting a real hurting onto NFL. NFL, we got Shiesty, Zikopa, and Lazy. Lazy knocked for the count here, but Zikopa desperately trying to play medic, while Shiesty provides the overwatch cover fire and tries to hold the opposition at bay with some utility hellfire. And Lazy, as soon as he gets a breath of life, brought right back down to the prone zone, and Easy Copa brought down with him. This is going to be a situation where if Shiesty is able to secure these revives, that is going to be more than likely an error on the end of HARYANVI. But I do see their hesitation. I mean, it's just a two-piece, an open, vulnerable territory with no vehicle to really make that way. But luckily, now with Sam OP's knock, it's going to put all the pressure onto Shiesty and Easy Copa. Easy Copa desperately needing to heal as well, so not a lot of time to make magic happen. Shiesty putting the shots out, taking Sam dangerously low, but ultimately down before she can finish the job, leaving Easy Copa as the final hope for the Never Forget Loyalty crew, and this could be a world of hurt. However, the odds have been even. It's not like it's not a fair fight. Is DeWood? Oh, DeWood is so far away. Oh my goodness, Sam and Hood are done for. Absolutely done for. A 2-1 split, and this is, you know, illuminating both the advantage and disadvantage of a strategy like that. You know, DeWood able to carry on the team name after his teammates kind of bit the bullet, but at the same time, flip the script. DeWood probably would have been the game-changing variable in that altercation. Essentially, one more man of gunpowder probably would have been all that was necessary for the crew in HARYANVI to come out of there victorious. So, yeah, I think it shows both sides of the coin. I think in this case, DeWood may have retreated a little too preemptively. Quickly changing our attention down to the tender love and care, and I guess, folks, yep, we got Vortex cooking up a nade here with 9 on the mind. 9 taking a lot of damage from Nismo and then brought down to the prone zone. Revenge dished out onto Nismo in record timing, leaving I guess down to a 3-piece of Vortex, Chess, and Monsta. Monsta needing to heal up, not a lot of time to do so, is able to get the first aid off. Vortex putting out some preliminary nades, hoping for a lucky knock in the middle of it, but the jump shot with the S18 speaking absolute devastation onto TLC, and Vortex almost able to add on to it, but unfortunately 7-7 able to get him down low, and then oof, the teammate from TLC with the nade to seal the deal, bringing him on back to lobby. TLC still technically a full 4-piece, but with 7-11 knocked and 9 needing to heal up, it's going to be a battle here. And this really should be the battle where, I guess, does not let these moments remain idle. They need to capitalize on these knocks, because the odds are never going to be more fair in this altercation than right now. Unless they're able to somehow get another lucky knock without, you know, peeking and risking themselves. In case and point, Shez down by the M249, and a situation where it could have essentially been a fair fight 2v2. A little bit of hesitation brought that back to a 3v1, and ultimately TLC coming out victorious with 4 elims and carrying on as a full 4-piece. We're going to switch over to the crew in GBG. This is the Get Back gang, in case they face off against the looming push from PHYRA. But also northbound, we have the RTP Resilience gang in a potential proximity to the finest just north of them. Not looking like it's going to be much of anything for either altercation, to be honest. So it leads me to wonder, where's the next bit of action going to come from? Sorry about that highlighter. I want to get zoom in on here. I think we got 2 potential points of altercation. GBG and TLC, but as you can see, GBG, the Get Back gang, getting themselves back into zone rather than facing off too early with the lost cause. And it looks like the confrontation between RTP Resilience and the boys in the finest dying down a bit as well. So I'm going to stay here where the Unforgivable 4 and the Get Back gang, it's the closest possibility of a fight we got right now. Alright, Zaza closest to the opposition here. This is, of course, the Untrustable 4 versus members of Get Back gang. Looks to be a 4v4, a fair fight. Anch readily equipped with that DBS, and good thing too, because Zaza has his name on. Oh my goodness. Well, rookie mistakes happen at every tier of PUBG Mobile Esports. We've seen, you know, Paraboy flop a Sandhawk match, you know, that ultimately did his entire team in. We've seen pros make the most noob mistakes, so you know what? As easy as it is to criticize, I think the most human thing we can do is recognize that those mistakes are going to happen occasionally at every sector of PUBG Mobile Esports. The frequency at which they happen is kind of the real issue. Once every season, not the worst. Once every scrim, that's a different story. So Untrustable 4 Ryan needs to trust his teammates a little more to carry their own and hold their weight in their 1Vs, because unfortunately the Untrustable 4 brought back to lobby a little too soon, just 3 slots shy of the placement bracket, getting eyes on the Never Forget Loyalty crew. Easy Copa still up and about, but the last hope for his team here, desperately trying to cling to life and get those placement points where they're afforded, and he might just have that opportunity if TLC continues this push towards GBG. But my prediction is that the TLC crew is probably out scouting for prime positioning or any easy elim steals or high ground vantage points. So if they catch wind of Easy Copa, it's almost down, done, and dusted guaranteed. The problem here for TLC is that if he doesn't know about FM's location, then his shots onto Easy Copa are also a honing beam onto him. Easy Copa, like a bat out of hell. I wonder what the mentality was there. I am curious what the game plan strategy was, because if he had any sort of spatial awareness, it's not like, you know, they were quiet. He should have known their location that entire time. I'm not sure what that was. Unless it was just a self-sacrificing, hey, I can't finish this match, I got stuff to do. I don't know. Even then, to do that is... it would be better to just lay low and get extra placement points. So I have no idea what that was. Alright, TLC 711 and 99 as 2 members of this full 4-piece, positioning themselves beautifully here to just bully onto FM. But FM's got a monster nade out for 9, and boom goes the dynamite, all too literally.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Phenomenally struck nade, and this is going to put a world of hurt. We got a 2v2 here. FM now just turning their attention to the tucked tail TLC as 9 tried to dip out of dodge, but taken down immediately as punishment, leaving it up to 7-11 and 7-7 in a 2v2 here. Free fires left and right from 7-11 and from 7. And oh my goodness, this is FM just a little too over-eager. I get that that was not worked out, but boy, those were some extremely vulnerable and risky pushes outside the window area. And 7-11, you know, give him credit. You know, he was able to clutch it in, but I will boil that down to a little bit of over-eagerness on FM's part. Okay, we've got some action on the board as Maiko and his teammate here are engaging with multiple members of RTP Resilience. As you can see, Markole has been brought down to the prone zone. His teammate desperately trying to, well, he could have put him on the back of that buggy and at least attempted an escape, but given the lay of this zone, I don't see it having worked out very, very likely. Regardless, it was a bold strategy to push on what was still, in his head, a minimum of a 2 to 3 piece team up. Well, speaking of pushers, we got TLC even as a 2-piece, staying in the thick of the action, but they're getting attention from numerous angles. To one side, they've got Golden PHYRA, and in front of them, the crew in Ducklings, and stuck in between a rock and a hard place, 7-7 is brought back down to the prone zone. He was the deli meat and a peanut butter and screwed sandwich. Now, Ardom and The opposition in Ducklings having at it with one another, and the shotguns are sounding and singing. S18's singing a beautiful chorus, and it always tells a song of death. God, I'm getting poetic. All right. Now, 3 teams circulating around 2 hills here. 9 of TLC eliminated there and then, but able to bring his team all the way up to a fourth place elimination. So yeah, I think that is a phenomenal performance when you're reduced down to a solo. Really emphasizing the self-restraint where he needed to for the entire first 3/4 of the match, and then not overly hesitant and ready to switch up that strategy to a more aggressive approach to get those easy in-game elim steals. And I think he held out about as long as you could expect him to, because we have 10 players up amongst these 3 teams, meaning that, you know, he might have been a solo, but 1v3ing is very unlikely. 1v4ing, very unlikely. His only other shot would have been to lay low and let those teams focus on each other. But as open of a map as Miramar is, I think we knew where that was going. MG laying out a slaughterhouse here. It's actually Jonier, and not just Jonier. Jonier joined by the Blue Zone in the team up here, and doing what the Blue Zone does. I say this time and time again, but no one has a higher KD than that Blue Zone, and Golden PHYRA has a tough, brutal reminder just there and then. And the last PHYRA has fallen to the sand just like that. What a phenomenal performance at the hands of RTP Resilience. Sorry about that. RTP Resilience decimating the Desert of Destruction here, bringing themselves in a very, very healthy 23-point gain from round 3 alone. That is gonna be game over right there. Talk about that might be the single highest point gain that we've seen in this event for one single match. Nope. We've seen a 13 elim performance from teams twice now, I think. Once or twice. But I don't think either of them were first. I think I'm wrong. I take that back. I remember day 1. So this is either the lead of performance for a single match, or it's tying the lead, but dead on time. We got the PHYRAs in second with 5 eliminations, 4 of which came from Slaughter. GBG working their way into third, but thanking their lucky stars for the big backpack that Zaza has, as he gets them 5 eliminations and a 3rd place finish. Nicely done. TLC thanking their lucky stars for their solo player, working them all the way up to a 4th place finish. And once again, TLC really with a solid effort from everyone doing a equal amount of elim work here. 8 elims, a 4th place finish. Everybody eats solid performance. DLS, even as a 3-piece, getting the 5th place position with 3 elims to their name. We got the crew and Soldiers from Hell coming in 6th with 2. FM in 7th with 3. Exotic in 8th with 4, all from DP. The Never Forget Loyalty crew in 9th with 4. FNT is going to have a rough go of comebacks here with only 4 elims and just shy of that placement point bracket in a 10th place finish. The Unforgettable 4 in 11th with 0. I guessing their way into 12th place with 4 elims. We got HR in 13th. That's HARYANVI with 2. The other PHYRAs in 14th with a big old onion. We got the OP crew in 15th with an onion. And lastly, the boys and girls in Some Angry GURKHAS having a rough go of it. 16th, last place with 1 elim from Nija. Alrighty, ladies and gents, that is 75% of the day down, done, and dusted. But we got just one more match ahead of us. Just 30 brief minutes is all that remains to decide who wants to take home that $60 first place prize the most. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be back with our 4th and final round of the PUBG Mobile Rising Titans Community Scrimmages Day 2 in just a few short moments. Stick around. We'll be back soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our fourth and our final round of the PUBG Mobile Rising Titans Community Scrimmages Day 2. And we are ending it where it all began. The only do-over for the day. We're returning once again to the very first map ever brought into PUBG Mobile. I am, of course, speaking of Erangel. What sort of flight path are we working with? Remember, it all rides on these last 30 minutes to decide who wants to take home that first place prize. So, once again, for 3 consecutive matches, our participants are left with almost perfectly centralized flight paths. But the zone has spoken, and as you can see, I'd say about 20%, maybe 15% of it is going to be water. So that's going to limit their real estate options a little bit. But again, now that we're working with only 8x8s, that's not as concerning as it was previously. We do see a little bit of congestion around the Pachinki region, so I want to get a line of sight there and see what's going to happen. That is not the Pachinki region that I was trying to tune to. Here we have it. We got members of OP Esports alongside oppositions in not just DLS, the Ducklings, but also members of HARYANVI as well. This could spell early altercations, and already we do see some congestion between members of Ducklings and OP Esports, as well as some elims in the feed from XOTIC. So tell you what, we'll go ahead and get XOTIC up on the alt cam and catch both sides of this altercation. We got Zach really in a world of trouble here if he is not able to hardcore parkour his way to his teammates and out of the thick of the action. Sorry about that map view, ladies and gentlemen. And as this takes a little bit of a standstill, we're going to switch our attention to what is now a 2-piece of Soldiers from Hell. Looks like they're not looking to escape at all. They are actually driving head first into the thick of it. Oh, maybe Torres is just attempting to pick up his teammate, his only remaining teammate, but no, they're here for a fight. As you can see, they are here for a fight. This is for better or for worse, and understandably so. I'm not sure where Soldiers from Hell are placing in the overall bracket, but if they're not in the contention for top placing teams, why not go and make this last match about causing trouble for some of the bullies, so to speak. Well, Marcoy is down, and it's up to Torres, and Torres alone as the monster truck flies over his head and just barely misses him. He goes full on Dominic Toretto, getting in that vehicle and driving like a bat out of hell in a ticking time bomb, a smoking vehicle. Will he be able to escape? It's tough to say because there is a O.J. Simpson car chase that was almost brewing between OP from XOTIC and himself. We saw some elims on the feed here. It looks like, yeah, this is going to be not the best situation for Evil OP. All his teammates have been knocked. It looks like he's able to get a revive on Conks. And why is he able to get this revive at all? Why would members of HARYANVI not push on 3 knocks out of a 4-person team? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to give a benefit of a doubt there to HARYANVI and say that they knew something that I don't, and I think that might actually be the case, because we've got, I guess, at the Church Hill, that could spell why HARYANVI was a bit hesitant to push outward. But nonetheless, I feel like at least from Sam's positioning here, he would have easily been able to just work his way up through those buildings to close in and try to at least get some of those thirsts. It was 3 knocks. So I know that there's got to be a decent reason for it, or I hope there's got to be. But if not, it's just lack of experience or maybe impulsiveness. Nismo of, I guess, putting a real hurting on DeWood, taking him down to about 10%, but not enough to seal the deal. And as you can see, Nismo not really like to push forward, given that his team is a little further back, trying to provide some overwatching cover fire to him. And if anything, he's more of the scout detail, kind of relaying that info back to his teammates. But we could be left with a bit of a standstill here in Pachinki, as these three teams are still all up and kicking. I'm going to switch my attention once again to Torres of SF. He is the final hope for his team, but even as I say it, we gotta get out of here and go check in on TLC, putting themselves in the thick of the action up against the likes of none other than the Finest. It looks like the Finest desperately trying a southbound rotation away from TLC and trying to get to a new positioning inside this zone. And it doesn't look like TLC is overly eager to pursue that. Interestingly enough, as well, PHYRA able to cross the bridge from military base without taking a single bullet of warning fire at all. Not enough people really surveying the play zone and seeing what possibilities are awaiting. Not a single team even thought to bridge camp that. And I mean, to an extent, you want to try to rationalize that and say, well, maybe it would have been a pretty far jump to Millie from that central point, but I don't know. It could be. One thing is for sure, though, the PB Resilience crew gonna be in between a 3-1 split here. The one off is Paradox, and he's, unfortunately for him, a little too close to RTP Resilience. Sorry, guys. Looks like we have a game freeze. No stress, though. I will get that resolved. And in the meantime, hang tight with me as I get this up on the screen and get the sound on for it. Okay. Closing out the emulator now and relaunching. Meanwhile, we got Sam OP, one of two remaining hopes here for HARYANVI, and just still in the very thick of it with multiple oppositions, I guess being the closest, as well as OP Esports. Sorry about that little glitch. I will deactivate and reactivate, and that's resolved. And just bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting that emulator back up and running as we speak. Voltrux not doing great in terms of ammo supply, finding himself with less than 155, about 60 or 70 rounds of sevens. That's not ideal given the congestion and close quarters that they have with multiple oppositions. He's going to have to make the absolute most of his bullets here, using them sparingly. Alright, we are getting back up and running here on this emulator. Almost loaded in. And there we have it. I'm going to go ahead and check in. Yep, switching on back to the emulator view for you guys. Okay, well, these clusters here at Pachinki are just dragging on. Sam just above Evil and Kanks here, biding his time. IG able to get that off angle on him. Realistically, this could be an opportunity for Hood to just decimate the OP squad with one good nade. Imminence down. They are down to a 3-piece. And I do believe that we saw Freaky in the elim feed, so pulling that up on the alt cam. Whatever altercation they were up against, they came out victoriously, as they are very clear of any immediate threats. All right, gonna bring up Sam here on the alt cam, and on the main cam, we're gonna be going a little bit more northbound to where the PB Resilience crew is trying to really corner the FM boys. At this point, Sukman, FM, and FM Pardon me, Sukman, yeah, there's 3 of them that all have the same name, which is frustrating. But now there's only one FM left, along with Sukman, reduced down to half of their starting lineup as PB Resilience, 1 by 1, scrapes the FM boys off the plate. And now it is going to be a quick push from Paradox as Panther cooks up the utility in the distance. This is literally nothing happening from Sukman. Now, I get it. You probably recognize that revive was not like to be successful. So what's the move? He had a choice. He could try to retreat backwards, maybe fall back to a position where he can just relocate and catch him unawares. But he held position and waited. Now, I'm not really sure what the right move would have been there to do, but in my head, I would think that maybe as they were pretty congested, he might have had the opportunity to fall back long enough to relocate to a different building. Maybe not. Sorry about those graphic renders, ladies and gentlemen. That is a little frustrating for me as well, but that is quick work on IGuess. IGuess Monsta is down, leaving it all up in the hands of his 3 remaining teammates. We got Smiley, just 2 remaining teammates, Smiley and Vortex. The good coin in their back pocket, however, Smiley and Vortex are responsible for the entirety of the team's 5 elims so far. Now, on the alt cam, Sam of HARYANVI still in just ridiculous close quarters here with the boys in, I guess, as well as Never Forget Loyalty, who is now showing up to the Pachinki party. Trying to get up in the air here a little faster, but that's not a luxury with the standard emulator. I cannot wait for PMSL to get my hands back on that Advanced Observer client. All right. Here's the lay of the land. Smiley and Vortex really kind of sandwiched here in a bit of a pinch. And understandable why they are so hesitant, especially when you look at the alt cam on the bottom right. You can see Sam is the devil they may or may not know. But they know that they're stuck in between a rock and a hard place. And if they are aware of Sam's off angle, it would just be further more reason to be hesitant. Even if Sam wasn't there, I myself would probably be reluctant to go out and push, knowing that there's 2 separate teams spread out in Pachinki. Well, the PHYRA is having at it in the distance. We're going to catch a brief line. Yep, as they square off against RTP, Ardom is down, leaving Slaughter in a pinch here. He's luckily not alone. He's got Hoslich and RTK with him. Slaughter trying to retreat to the safety of this little shack, but how many times do we have to see these shacks, basically be a player's undoing? It looks like 4 walls of security, but then more often than not, it's basically lining them up like fish in a barrel. You don't even need to aim the nade past making sure it gets through that window slit. You don't have to aim at a person. Hoslich is down. Slaughter still holding down the shack below. RTK pushing up from the low ground disadvantage, facing head on into Jonier and Chico. Jonier down like a bad habit, leaving Chico in a pinch here. 1v1 against RTK. However, there is still teammates down on the low ground. Chico learning that the hard way as Slaughter runs him over like a bowling ball. MGG coming in for the guns a-blazing. Quick switch to the passenger, but a little too tunnel visioned on the thirst and suffering the consequences as a result. A little too much seeing red, pun intended. All right, well, PHYRA thanking their lucky stars for Slaughter as Rodham able to get revived. RTK looking like he's next up. Slaughter playing medic duty before what could be a potential push inbound from the Never Forget Loyalty crew. And look at this, you guys, we have just reached the bracket for placement point gain here. We are down to our top 8 teams spread out across 29 players, and the zone has shifted and spoken, and it is only going to favor 2 of the remaining 8 teams. It looks to me like the Unforgettable 4 and Exotic find themselves graced by the PUBG gods in this next zone, especially the Unforgettable 4. And let me go ahead and just do the split screen here just so I can do a breakdown of this. So the reason I say that the Unforgettable 4 here is really going to be the team at the advantage point, it's not just because they've got the zone, but the back of their peripherals isn't even needing to be attended to, meaning that they don't need to worry about their back because it's water. So realistically, unless there's an unlikely boatation, it's more than likely going to be a situation where they don't even need to account for their immediate western portion. They're going to need to look west, but not as drastically as east and north. So they're going to have to cover about 180 to 200, and I'm going to say less than 270, obviously, but let's say 250 degrees of oversight here versus a 360-degree swivel. They have all the action happening ahead of them. Now, you can switch that up against, you know, a team like IG or Exotic. See, Exotic already thrown into the thick of it as we speak, just from their positioning, you know, being in the same line of people pushing into the zone. So, Exotic, let's have a look at what they're able to do with this altercation. You got NFL in the mix here with them. OP pushing forward to reunite with Zeno and Marco, while Noob holds the off angle. Their most immediate threat is NFL Easy Copa, but their more concerning threat probably are on either angles of these hills where PHYRA and IXIA, and I guess eagerly await any third-party elim steal opportunities. And if they were to push out towards Copa, it would almost certainly result in a third-party elim attack. Gonna get my attention down to the original Golden PHYRAs. At this point, reduced down to a 3-piece of Slaughter, RTK, and Rodham. And as you can see, Slaughter catching a wind of the Unforgettable 4 just across the way. Now, remember what I said about Unforgettable 4's positioning. Yeah, they are going to have to attend to their west, but not their immediate west, meaning that unless PHYRA pushes up to the other side of this peninsula, they're going to have, you know, a lot of distance shots here, and they're not going to be able to be throwing any utility knocks to catch the Unforgettable 4 awares. It's going to be a distance battle, if anything, and a distance battle, if Unforgettable 4 positions themselves right, is something that they can account for. Even if they get knocked, if they're positioned well, they'll be out of the line of fire from at least the Golden PHYRAs. And look what they're able to do. They've got 2 or 3 knocks on Golden PHYRA, and Rodham desperately trying to play medic. He does get the revive on RTK, but boom! The buggy's coming in like time bombs and just crashing onto him. Rodham putting out an onslaught. And yes, he does get the takedown on Brian to add with the on-schnock. And that is going to really put a hurting on to that vantage point that the Unforgettable 4 had, reducing them to half of their starting lineup. And Rodham may even be able to get at least 1 revive here on RTK. I mean, honestly, if he's able to do it, maybe even going and picking up Slaughter on the buggy and bringing him back to the other side of this rock edge would be enough cover to actually heal. And as he goes with that same idea in mind, he is put into check real quick, facing a wall of bullet fire and keeping him held off at bay. Just like that, Mirai of the other PHYRAs putting some work in the distance. Let's catch a line of sight on it as they square off against the Exotic crew. Now, PHYRA ZYY very likely down for the count, and his other 3 remaining teammates pretty far back. XOXO trying to hold the opposition off at bay, throwing out hellfire left and right, getting some nade damage. No nade damage, but instead drawing unnecessary attention to himself. And look at XOTIC just decimating the PHYRA IXIA boys like they're nothing. Running them over. Xeno and Noob become a bowling ball and just turn them into bowling pins, getting their spare, getting those easy points on the board, and they are not done yet. With a taste of blood on their mind, XOTIC pushing in like a bat out of hell, but did they focus in too hard? No, they didn't. Xeno clutches it by the hair on his chin. XOTIC still up in the mix, and now working their way up to an insane 11 elims. And guys, we still have 11 players remaining. There's still 7 more oppositional players remaining. That could be more elims on the board, more placement on the board for Team XOTIC. Can they keep this onslaught going? Can they let this little rock snowball into a boulder? We are down to our final 4 teams spread across 11 players. Everyone in frame. No. 1, 2, 3. I only see 3 teams. Ah, there we go. No, where the heck? Okay, slaughter of Golden PHYRA just out in no man's land. Well, we are closing in on the final moments of the final match of the PUBG Mobile Rising Titans community scrimmages, day 2 of 2, round 4 of 4. It all comes down to this. 4 teams remain, 11 players. PHYRA, the solo remaining for Golden PHYRA, up in a 1v at this point, with members of PB Resilience and able to corner Glock away from his teammates. PB facing off with multiple teams simultaneously and ultimately bringing about their own downfall as a result. You know, this is a moment where all they had to do was lay low for a couple seconds and it would have been extra points on the board. But instead, going off and facing off with XOTIC and... oh my goodness. It's just, it's honestly enough to kick your feet to. Slaughter wanted to lay low. Can he remain under the radar long enough for XOTIC to catch a line of sight on members of the Finest? We got Golden PHYRA, XOTIC, and the Finest. It is a 3v3v1. Pardon me, 4v2v1 to end our 4th and final round. Slaughter is taking the focus, but OP really a hectic split-second error, turning his back to Slaughter and getting slaughtered as a result. Even from the low ground, using the tree as geographical cover, shielding himself from Marco and Noob's overwatch and cover fire. This is a situation where now members of the Finest have focused in on XOTIC, and Slaughter may be able to lay low long enough to... nope, he's going for it. He says, guns out, let's get it. And he's still, whether he realizes it or not, he has now brought it up to 2nd place, and it's a 1v2. Crazier things have happened. Yes, the odds are against him, but crazier things have happened. All right, the lay of the land will be brought up on the alt screen here. 3 players, 2 teams, a 1v2 to end our 4th and final round. Can Slaughter take Freaky and Ankit out of the equation and get that chicken dinner? The answer is no, as Freaky is live and Slaughter is dead. The dad jokes are not stopping. I want you all to know. I've decided I'm embracing the corniness and I'm going full dad joke for the remainder of my PUBG Mobile career. Either way you look at it, the cards have spoken. That is that. That is game over. And the Finest taking home a 1st place round 4 finish with 10 elims to add on to it. It's a 20-point gain in our 4th and final round, and 60% of those 10 elims are thanks to Freaky is live alone. Slaughter really doing great work here for the PHYRA squad, as he is able to bring them all the way up to a silver medal 2nd place finish and 8 elims. Slaughter's responsible for 5 of those 8. That is going to be a healthy 16-17 point gain for the Golden PHYRAs in round 4. XOTIC, honestly, XOTIC really showing a force especially in the last half of round 4. And taking home that bronze medal ain't nothing to wag your finger at when they're doing so with 12 elims to add into the equation. Then we got PB Resilience in 4th place with 7. I guess coming into 5th with 12 elims between Vortex and Smiley alone. Nismo and Monsta did not get a single elim, and they still get good placement and phenomenal elims. Well, we got the other PHYRAs. This is Mirai, Z, Solar, and She XOXO. I believe this is Golden PHYRA IXIA in 6th with 1 elim from Mirai. The Unforgettable 4 in 7th place with 5 elims between Tom and Anch. Never forget Loyalty. They're not forgetting Loyalty. They are forgetting eliminations. But at least they're getting placement. It's something. 8th place, 0 elims. That's 1 to 2 placement point gain for them. RTP coming in 9th place with 1 from Joinier. We got the crew in Soldiers from Hell in 10th with 0. HR working their way. This is HARYANVI in 11th place with 2 elims from Sam. FM getting F'd into 12th place with a big ol' onion. We got the OP squad in 13th with 1 from Conks. We got members of SAG. This is going to be, pardon me, some Angry GURKHAS in 14th place with 0. The Tinder Loving Care crew coming in. This is Lost Cause, obviously. 15th place with 1 elim from What's His Name. And lastly, the boys in DLS coming in 16th and last place with 0. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That's all she wrote. That is all 8 rounds of the Rising Titans Community Scrims 2-day event. And I gotta say, it's been an absolute honor and pleasure getting to cast these scrims for you. I'm RedEyes, primarily known as a semi-professional esports commentator in the PUBG Mobile NA esports scene. If you like what you see, be sure to drop a follow, like, and subscribe, yada yada. And I gotta say, it's been an absolute blast. I hope you all have a great rest of your day or your evening. Have fun, be safe, and be kind to one another. GG's.